Welcome to Clongriffin, a suburb north of Dublin. It started out as a Celtic Tiger dream, became a victim of the Recession, and now it's hellbent on trying to at least slightly regain what it was meant to be.
Clongriffin has had a construction boom in the past 5 years. However, in spite of that, you can see walking by here down from the train station the abandoned mall. Yes, it would have been all this space you see before you would actually have been the town centre. We're talking this mall here would have had a cinema, a supermarket, and completely different from just the open spaces that we have now. They're still earmarked for development, but right now we don't know exactly when. What was supposed to be in these locations was space for office blocks, hotels. It was supposed to be a really new development outside of the main areas of Dublin, which had almost been a hub. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So now we come to what may be considered the actual attraction of Clongriffin.
One could argue that Father Collins Park is in fact the actual town centre of Clongriffin. It is definitely where most of the community seems to go after work or on weekends, and where there's a popular meeting spot. It has a lot of amenities for such a medium-sized park. There's a running/cycling loop, there's a skate park, there are playgrounds, there are pitches for various sports, and we have seen them used by people of all age groups and what seems to be organised clubs, as well as just regular people meeting up. However, my favourite aspect of this park is the wildlife that surrounds this pond. As you might be hearing the ducks that are sneaking up behind me thinking I've got bread for them, and even one of those little other water birds. And in the distance there's the swans slowly making their way closer. There is just so many different birds you can spot. We've seen herons, cormorants, and our duck friends who are trying to sneak up on me. Just one important reminder, don't actually feed ducks bread or the swans. That's actually not healthy for them. There's lots of other alternatives like sweet corn or peas, which they also love to eat, and they're much healthier. And oh my god, look at the little tiny swans, how adorable they are. Sorry, we don't have any foods for you. Look at them go all in one row. Except this one, who's like...
Close your eyes, hear the voice within, calling. This heavy load got under your skin.
It's so funny. I think the ducks are really used to being fed because we just try to sit here and they won't leave us alone. I think we've adopted 2 of them for now.
Our new friends just decided to sit down in front of us and take a nap. So now we're like, what do we do? Can we leave? Are they waiting for us to watch over them while they nap? Also, I don't want to talk too loudly and wake them up. I was about to say we switched our background bird friend to a heron, but he seems rather camera shy and decided to take off. Perhaps because we were being too noisy and disturbing his hunt. Now, the buildings behind me are a good example of what's been built in the last 5 years. Oh, a duckling! Random duckling running really fast in the water. Sorry, this is hard place for me to shoot anything in because I get distracted every 2 seconds by animals I see. These buildings behind me are a good example of the type of apartment complexes that have been built in this area in the last 5 years. They are built to rent schemes, which means they were built specifically with the intention to rent by a large company who still maintains and manages them. They're multiple stories high, full of 1 to 3 bedroom apartments, and they have underground parking, as well as some, in this lucky case, even community facilities downstairs.
Of course, for anyone living here in Clongriffin, you would have known that before. It had been known for this park and just a set of 5 windmills. They don't exist anymore. They got removed earlier this year. Yeah, I don't think any of them were actually working. By the end there was one, but it would spin rather precariously. So they got removed to prevent some of the noise it was making, and probably that they made the end of their lifespan. And now all we're left with is these poles. You might have noticed with all these buildings that there's something missing. Yep, that's right, the amenities. The thing is that with the main street never really being fully finished and to its potential, they're missing quite a few amenities here. There's not like a cinema close by really in this area. Sure, you'll have to go down, Malahide Road to get to the closest cinema. But there's also restaurants. There's no real place that you can go and go, hey, what's down the street? Maybe somewhere that you can just sit, get some food to eat, meet up with your friends at a cafe. No such things exist around here, definitely due to the lack of facilities on the main street. You no longer have some of these places that you would go to meet up with your friends, say cafes, restaurants. Yeah, there's some more takeouts, but if you really want to have some of those amenities, you probably have to go down Malahide Road or Coolot to get your cinemas and what have you.
A side effect of amenities like a bigger supermarket being further away seems to lead to people here needing a car. As you walk around, you see a lot of cars parked outside and you see entrances to car parks, which makes one think clearly there's more cars than there's parking spaces for. In our uneducated opinion, we wonder if that's also a reason why it's much harder for businesses to move into Clongriffin. People are already used to having to go to the neighbouring neighbourhoods for their purchases and most of their services. They have the cars to do that with. So it's a lot harder for new businesses coming in and trying to set up shop here.
Now, that's not to say there aren't any forms of transportation besides cars. They're from about 15-20 minutes from here. You can access the Clongriffin train station, as well as bus services as well. But if you don't have either of those, then there's walking. Definitely the Malahide Road is about 20 minutes walk from here. So you would be able to access some of your amenities like your doctor, your mall, Clare Hall, shopping centre, and other small shops along that road.
As you walk around, you noticed that the area seems to be populated by a lot of young families, people with small children. We did also notice a handful of crashes and childcare places. For older kids, like teens, there is very little to do in the area and very little places for them to go other than the skate park or the park itself. So you kind of see them roaming around in little packs around the neighbourhood, just hanging out that way. Whenever there's nonsense going on in the area, like something getting destroyed or motorcycle getting burned, it's often teens that are blamed, not any specific, just teens, youths in general. So I don't know if they're always at fault here, because that seems a bit too generalised, but it is kind of the stereotype we've heard from other people when we mention Clongriffin.
We also decided to go a bit deeper into the neighbourhood. We walked through this part of it called Parkside, which isn't just built to rent apartments, but rather actually houses there. And the vibe out there is definitely a bit different. You can see that they put a bit more focus on families. I think that's where there's the primary and secondary school located there.
And also, as you walk past, the car is an interesting marker of the incomes people might have. Did not realise that there were electric Porsches, if that's how you pronounce them in English.
Yeah, definitely a Porsche. A lot more electric cars there. And also construction, because it doesn't end there. We thought that the Parkside place was, just a collection of houses, but now they're into a different scheme now, where this entire road, because if you've been about this area, you would know that there's some construction. I think some sort of new kind of main road that they're trying to connect up. We did take a little walk there. The buildings around here aren't finished yet, but they're opening up the road piece by piece. It even looks like if they have dedicated bus lanes that would come in the future to be used.
So there's definitely a lot of planning for the area as a whole going on, from the infrastructure point of view, transport, and there's also space marked for green places. And as you walk through the smaller side streets, you also come across the tiny little parks that you see some children playing in. But that still doesn't solve the core issue. It seems that there's just a lack of businesses. It's all purely residential. Unless you like being outdoor in any kind of weather, and we know what the Irish weather is like, there isn't really anywhere for you to go and meet up with people.
Yeah, so Clongriffin is definitely growing. In the next couple of years, there are going to be more and more people living here as more and more of these apartments go up. The big question is, however, will they ever give enough amenities to match? I think that we've been hearing that there are complaints about, hey, are there going to be enough doctors or dentists and so on? Not even just to mention the amount of traffic on the road if more people opt to use cars versus the public transportation. So as the construction continues and new apartments keep being added every year, I wonder, will Clongriffin ever get the amount of amenities and community spirit that was first planned all those years ago when it was first imagined? Of course, if you like the video of our small little neighborhood tour here in Clongriffin, please give it a like and subscribe. And until the next time, until we tour another neighborhood, yeah, also do tell us what you think of this place. Have you been here before? Is this sort of neighborhood interesting to you? Until the next time, yeah, cheers from Wine and Rum.